All right, the next section, I got rid of a little bit more just so you guys, we had a little bit more room to work with. This section is talking about evaluating expressions with fractions and decimals. So when it gives us something like 7.2 over n, then what it wants to do is it wants us to substitute a value in for that. Now, in this particular case, and in the ones that you guys will see on your homework and in the bold that's going to happen, it will tell us the value that we are supposed to be substituting in for n. So on this case, it's n is equal to a negative 0.24. So I take n is equal to negative 0.24, and every time I see an n, I now put a negative 0.24 in. So I say 7.2 over negative 0.24. Hopefully you guys will see that I have a positive and a negative, so I know my answer is going to be negative, whatever I get. Now, I also have a decimal on the bottom. So if you notice, you should move it over twice. Well, when I move this over twice, I leave that empty space, so I have to fill it in with a 0. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to do the work over here so you guys can see. So I have 720 divided by 24. Now, I don't have my decimal in here because it's right back here. If I were to go past this point, I would have a decimal in my answer. I don't know if that's the case or not, so I'm not worried about it quite yet. I want to do some multiplication. 1 times 24 is 24. 2 times 24 is 48. 3 times 24 is 2, carry the 1 right over. Okay, so right over here, I just did some multiplication to see if I was at 2 or at 3. I noticed that 3 gets me exactly what I need, is that 72. So I'm going to say, all right, it can't go into that, so put a 0 over the 7. It just means we're shifting into this place value to start, and we want a 3 there. We actually don't need the 0 in front of it after you know where you're starting. So 3 times 24 is 72. We subtract it, we get 0. We drop our 0 down. What times 24 is 0? Well, it's 0. So after we did all of our math over here, we realized that our number is 30, but our answer needed to be a negative. So it should be a negative 30, causing it to be a negative 30. Hopefully that makes sense. Let's do another one just so we practice a little bit more. Okay, in this one I'm going to say m divided by 5 over 24, and for m, we substitute in 3 3/4. This is good because we see a mixed number here. Now, whenever we have a mixed number, it's ideal to turn it into that improper fraction. So we take the bottom number, we times it by the whole number. So 4 times 3 is 12, and then we add the top number. So 12, 13, 14, 15. So we have 15, we keep our original number in the denominator, that hasn't changed. So now we have 15/4. Instead of substituting 3 3/4 in for m, I'm just gonna go ahead and substitute 15/4 in, so then I don't have to change it in the problem. So I have 15/4 divided by 5 over 24. And now I can do my copy dot flip. So I copy my first one, I change my division into a multiplication, and I want to flip that second one, 24/5. At this point, I personally like to cross cancel. We're working with smaller numbers. You don't have a big number at the end that you have to simplify. You're simplifying it now as opposed to later. So I look at the top, 15 and 24. I look at the bottom, 4 and 5. 15 and 5 both are divisible by 5. So if I divide them both by 5, I get 15 to become 3 and 5 to become 1. Now, I can do the same thing with 24 and 4. I know that they can reduce. If I don't know automatically that I can divide them by 4, I can start by dividing by 2. That's totally okay. Half of 24 is 12, half of 4 is 2. I do that, and then now I see I'm working with 12 and 2. I can do it again. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 12 divided by 2 is 6. And so now I'm as low as I can possibly go. You don't have to do it all on the first try. If you can only see that they're both even and you want to start by dividing by 2, that's totally okay. You will eventually get it to where it has to go. Now, I have 3 times 6 on the top, which is 18. I have 1 times 1 on the bottom, which is 1, and any number over 1 is really just that number. So my answer for this one is going to be just 18. And I know it's a positive because I have a positive divided by a positive, which will give me a positive. So I'm going to have you guys try a couple of these, and then we'll come back for a story problem.